Okay, I'm going to show you the next step when you're working with your mandala design. So what we have here is we've traced it. We can look and we see that it's embossed or imprinted. Okay, it looks pretty good. All my lines are there. Now the next thing is, how do we know what lines are going to be raised and what lines are going to be lowered? So I have over here, you can mark it up with 2 different color pens or color pencils, or you can mark it with an R for repousse, which means that would be the areas that are raised. A C for chasing, which would mean that those areas will be lowered. So you can put little R's and C's in areas, or if you like to work with visual clues and just color, I usually start with the areas that I want raised. So I know that I want this kind of flower-like design raised, so I can just kind of do one of these. You could also color it in. This is my clue that these will all be raised. Okay, how about that middle section? That middle section is going to be lowered. So this is my color for being lowered. And so now and these lines are going to be in there. So it's very important that if you drew the line, that you make that mark also when you're working with the tools. So lowered, raised. I'm going to have this area, this back area lowered, and these are going to be raised. So raised. These are all going to be raised, and then this area is this is going to be lowered, like the whole disc there. Okay, so all of these. Okay, so I can keep going. Now that's going to be flat. This is going to be raised. These things. This is like, I don't know why I think it looks like a web. It doesn't really. It looks like the edge of a fancy plate or something. I don't know. Okay, so all of that is going to be raised. Now, there's been a lot of questions about, do I put this line in, this circle, on the edge? That's my 4-inch diameter edge here. So you could scribe that line, and that kind of holds the mandala, that radial design together. It kind of closes off the idea. If you don't have it, you're ending with these this edge. Okay, so you can also work from the center out, which is what I would suggest when you're working with the mandala. You work from the center outward. And then when you get to the edge, you can put a line in, just scribe a line if you want in your copper, or you can leave it, okay? So working with mandalas, we're starting in the center and we're working our way outward. So right now I'm not pressing hard at all. This is still behind it. And the idea is just, we could color this in with a crayon. It's just giving us a visual clue. I'm hardly touching the paper at all. I'm just giving it some color so I know that this will be raised. Okay, so, and then I'm not going to fill in every one of these, but these will be raised also. And if this was a crayon, I'd color this whole thing. This flat area here is going to be flat, that's the orange. Okay. So if we open this up, again, take the tape off when you're totally done, when you're committed to I've made all my lines, I've done everything I need to do, and then you can take it off, because you can't line it up and like, oh, if I forgot a couple lines, you can't really line it back up again. You almost have to start over. So take that tape off when you're ready, when you've committed to you're done. You know that you've made all your marks. Okay, so pick the right tool to start. So if I wanted my middle area pressed down, I'm always working from the copper side, okay? So this side faces me. So when I say that, that means that visually you will be looking at this. Now if you want it pushed out, then you have to work this way, but you're always looking at this side. So I should say you're always looking at this side. You can work both sides, but you're looking at this side. Okay, so I'm gonna scribe this. Now I also have a pencil, and the lead is like very blunt. It'd be really great if it didn't have any lead at all, because I'm gonna have to get that mark off. But it does give it an indentation, okay? But the pencil mark's gotta go at the end, so it's gonna be cleanup. And if you don't want cleanup, then get a pencil that doesn't have lead in it yet, okay? So it's really just a wooden dowel with like kind of a pointy end. And so maybe you have a tool that works better than a pencil. This right here needs to be flipped because now I want to raise these areas, okay? These areas are gonna come out towards me, which means we have to work from the back side. Okay, so you'll notice I didn't make the same mistake. I have my stack of papers underneath. You can use a sketchbook. That would be really handy, helpful. You can use a notepad. Okay, so right now I have kind of a pointy end here, and I'm staying within my lines. So it's super important if you want this detail, which you do, you're gonna stay within your line. So it's like a segment here, okay? You can also move your tool. You can have this edge. You can move it this way. You can move it this way. Okay, so let's flip it over and see. We just did one section. Okay, so now you can see that, and look, it has a little bit of texture because I'm using this kind of pointy end. This is plastic. I kind of like that. Okay, we're gonna flip it again. Now here's the real trick or key. To go on to the next one, let me put this here. To go on to the next one, you're gonna work within this section. So you leave this tiny little space. See that line right there? Okay, you want to have that little line that separates these two sections. Otherwise, one is going to run into the other, and it gives it more detail. So I work within the design I've created. So I have seen students work with a variety of tools. You know, sometimes wooden dowels work, sometimes different like nail tools, like on a nail clipper there's a thing that you can pull out and it has a pointed end, it's metal. Sometimes that, I don't know what it's called, that works. Maybe you have something that is really, really small And you need a toothpick for it or something. I don't know. That seems very small, but any tool that you find, plastic, wooden, some metal tools work if they're not too sharp. You can kind of think creatively. If you can't find anything and you're using the tools that I gave you, then that's fine too. So here I'm leaving this space. Okay, so it kind of reminds me of sections of an orange. Okay, so see that? And let's flip it. Okay, so if I didn't leave that space there, it would run into each other, which is not what I want. I want to have this kind of suction look to it. Okay, so I have to leave a tiny bit of something so it reads as individual sections. Okay, so this is good, but I'm not done. I still have to keep flipping it back and forth to really create that depth and to really sink it. So for the best job, I'm just gonna keep working. Okay, and again, this is called Repousse. I'm working in the reverse. The reverse side is this aluminum side. The viewing side is the copper. Okay,